In terms of what they told us what was going on, they got an increase in cancer knowledge. So the control group is in the hollow circles and remissions in the bold circles. You can see that everyone is the same, and there was a little bit of a practice test. So we gave them the questionnaire. A lot of them didn't know the answers to it, and we heard they were asking the nurses. So everyone kind of went up, but the treatment group still got better. And also self-efficacy was significantly better than control groups, and this was their confidence in their ability to fight their cancer using all the techniques that they know and cope with side effects. And this is highly correlated with actual behaviors. But more impressive, I think, is that we found improved adherence. I'll talk a little bit about this later, but these teenagers don't like to take their medication. Their immediate reward for it, that they feel, I take my medication and I throw up. That's not something that you want to keep on repeating doing. But what we did was we brought them inside the body and saw, like, okay, when I take my medicine, I get to shoot cancer. And I have to kill every last one of those cancer cells. So that's why I have to keep taking my chemotherapy. It wasn't so blatant, and it was more of a visual thing, and I think that's what video games are really good at, is kind of modeling complex situations and having people get an insight into it in a way that books can't do, or even non-interactive passive types of activities. This first graph is of how we looked at whether or not they were taking their prophylactic antibiotics. So because they take chemotherapy, it kills all your rapidly dividing blood cells, including your good ones, including your white blood cells. You end up with almost no immune system, so you have to take antibiotics to prevent you from getting really bad infection. We gave them a bottle. It was distributed through the pharmacy and had a little computer chip in the cap every time they opened it to get their antibiotics. The computer chip recorded the date and the time. We got it back at the end. We looked to see how much they were supposed to be taking it and how much they actually took it. And in the treatment group, they were taking it more often than in the control group. And this can save lives because teenagers with cancer can actually die of the infections rather than the cancer itself. And also for the 6-MP, that's a chemotherapy metabolite in your blood. So when the patients came for their first visit, before they got the game, we drew their blood, and at each of the 1-month and 3-month visits, we drew their blood. So no matter how much they tell us they're taking their chemotherapy, we could look at the metabolites in their blood and measure it. And what you find is that when they have to take these chemotherapies over time, they usually get worse over time, not so good at taking it. And you can see that was kind of happening in the control group, especially in the second slide. But in the intervention group, they're able to maintain significantly higher levels of the chemotherapy metabolites in their blood if they're playing the game. And that's what's really significant and profound in this study, and it also needs to be studied further. And that is why I say games save lives, because the more chemotherapy metabolites you have in your blood, the more adherent you are, the longer your life is when you have cancer. So why did the game work? Well, it wasn't an easy thing, and it wasn't chance. We did a lot of homework. We did background literature reviews, one-on-one interviews with the doctors, nurses, the patients, family members. We did focus groups with the patients, and we did surveys with the professionals who take care of these patients to find out what we needed to focus on. And then I mentioned this before, we picked a really good problem to address. Besides the fact that these adolescents aren't very good at taking their medications, what had been happening, we saw in the literature, was over the past 25 years, we had developed really effective chemotherapies that were dramatically increasing the survival outcomes of these patients. However, if you looked at the group of teenagers and young adults, they were often only increasing minimally and significantly less rapidly as these other age groups, and in some age groups, they were just flat or even getting worse. So we need to do something. There are many reasons hypothesized about why that difference may be in this age group, maybe different biology or the tumor biology, but another major hypothesis has been this adherence issue. So we picked a problem where it was a big problem, we could make a difference.